Similitude. This is Star Trek Enterprise Season 3. You know that I love Star Trek Enterprise, the first two seasons. Shill for them, love the characters, love all the stories. Season 3, the Xindi War, has been kind of meh for me, but there's been some nice episodes that have been in between the Xindi War stuff, and this one is one of them, and this has so far been the best one of Season 3. I absolutely loved it. No notes, didn't need to take any notes for this one. I never edit or script my videos. If you ever see a cut, it's because something happened out of my control, like I got a phone call or something or whatever. But don't need to take any notes, didn't need to write anything down for the space system because this is an easy one. But I'm going to use the space system, which is story, pacing, artistry, characters, enjoyment. Each category gets a score between 0 and 2. 2 is the best you can get. When you add them all up, you get something out of 10. You know where this is going. The storyline, 2 out of 2. Trip, who is, I guess he's my favorite character. I've been teetering back and forth. Archer's up there, but for me in these Xindi battle ones, he's gone down a little bit because he's become sort of a bit meaner, which I didn't think of him that way before. But Trip has remained just amazing. He gets killed or damaged, he gets injured, and they need to save him. He's in a coma. So Dr. Phlox has this weird creature that if you inject this creature with DNA from another creature, it actually becomes an exact replica with the memories and everything of that person. So basically this is like that movie, The Island. Remember that Michael Bay movie, which people thought was so great, but I actually thought was kind of crappy. The first 20 minutes was cool. Oddly enough, Neelix was in that movie. But anyways, so they make the hard decision of, we're going to grow this creature and it'll be an exact replica of Trip. It's only going to live for 15 days anyways. So once it gets to the proper age that Trip is, it ages very rapidly. So like in a few days, it'll be like 15 days will be its entire lifespan. It'll grow old and die. So like once it gets to the exact age that Trip is now, they can extract the parts they need from that clone and put it into the real Trip. Love the storyline here. There's a lot of deep just messages about life in general and what it means to be alive and, you know, to be a sentient being. And, you know, you start to question, like, you know, this thing has come into existence. It is Trip, but not. It's him, but now it's creating new memories of being alive on the Enterprise and learning and stuff as well. This was a tough one because it's living to die to give its brain tissue or whatever, brain parts to Trip. So it's like, I mean, it's a bit sad, but also interesting. I loved it. Love the storyline here. The pacing, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 2 for the pacing, because something like this, I'm so interested to see what's happening that it feels shorter. I know sometimes with the action, it seems like, oh, this is action, it was great pacing. But if I'm bored by the action, or if I feel I know the outcome of the action, it's not that exciting. Something like this, a good story that keeps me interested, has better pacing for me, especially when we're looking at a Star Trek episode. Remember, we're not reviewing Star Wars. Star Wars needs to have, of course, solid characters and a good story, but it needs to have amazing action as well. Star Trek doesn't need to have the action component, but the story needs to be better than a Star Wars story because it needs to make you think a bit more. Star Wars, you should understand, this is a good character, this is the bad guys, I want the good guys to win. How are they going to win? What's going to happen? Plus some great action and effects. Star Trek is, I need to be thinking while I'm watching and thinking, well, should you kill this clone? Is it right? Is it the right thing to do to kill this clone in order to save this other guy? The questions are all answered sort of in the best way they can, and the outcome is great. So to me, that was very engaging. So I'm giving 2 out of 2 for pacing. The artistry, there isn't much to go on in the artistry here. So I mean, I'll give it a 1. It's everything looks fine. It's on the ship. I'm just giving it a 1 because everything looks good and that's it. Like, there wasn't anything spectacular going on in this episode, so it's very difficult to give it anything more than that. I don't know what to tell you. I'm watching this in the best possible way you can with my Blu-rays and surround sound and stuff. So everything looks good. It's a ship episode. It's tough to give more than a 1 on a ship episode, but that's that. Characters, big time 2 out of 2. Loved everybody in this, especially Trip, the clone Trip, or Sim is what they call him. Great. I really felt something. This entire episode really touched me. It's like I was like, wow, this is so good, and I felt like, yes, this is, we're back to what Enterprise was in those first 2 seasons. The enjoyment factor, of course, is a 2 out of 2, so I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. Really, it's a 10 out of 10, but I'm giving it a 9 because I have to stick to my system. But Phlox is great here too. Great part at the end where Trip's like, you were a great father to me because I have my memories of Trip, but I also have my memories of being on the Enterprise. Such a great episode. This is what Star Trek is all about, raising these questions, talking about them. They didn't make it easy because about towards the end of the episode, the clone Trip, so Sim, starts to realize that he's like, hey, there's this experimental drug or thing that can prolong my life, and it's like, I don't have to die. And you're like, oh my god, like, but then if they risk it and he dies, then both Trips die, right? It's so experimental, it probably won't work. It might work, but probably won't. So what do? Do you risk 2 lives for that now? Like, it was just done in such a great way. They didn't shy away from the big questions. Love this episode. 9 out of 10. If you like my space system, please like the video, consider subscribing, and check out the playlist for Star Trek. So that's it. Until next time.